About a year and a half ago, I had a student come ask if there was a way that we could bring trout into the classroom. And so I said, tell me more. And that's the beginning of this adventure. My deep hope is that we know God as creator, we engage in the order, beauty, and chaos in his creation, and we join in the restoration of all things new. I chose these three words to speak of God's intent, his plan, his purpose, and how every intricate detail of his creation matters.
Minnesota Trout Unlimited is a statewide organization. Is solely dedicated to protecting, restoring, and conserving cold water trout habitats across the state, and tying connections between the real habitat and the aquariums that the students engaged with all year. Be that through releasing the fish, sampling macroinvertebrates, and inferring water quality, practicing casting a fly rod, all ways that students can engage not only with the habitat but outside of the school as well.
I started attending chapter meetings and Zoom calls with other science educators around the state of Minnesota, learning about this program and learning about trout and their life cycle. It was super exciting and educative, and started to bring students into these conversations and do the prep work. In December, 612 trout eggs arrived in a little red cooler. We acclimated them to the water and thus began their life cycle on our campus. First egg drop of the Trout in the Classroom project. Here goes 300 eggs. And they're in. Let's go!
So for the next couple weeks, Dr. Benson and I calculated when the eggs should hatch and then eventually do their swim up. The swim up date helps us determine when we need to feed the fish. So for 5 months, we've been doing water changes where we test the pH, ammonia, nitrate, and nitrite. And we also had to do water changes where we clean out the old water and bring in new.
Based on their experience with the water changes and the pH, we had a day on campus where we celebrate grandparents. And so for Grandparents' Day, I thought it would be super fun to have the grandparents participate in this water testing. And so our students, side by side with grandma or grandpa or both, and some of their reflections were really encouraging and inspiring to say, if my science class had been this hands-on and this interesting, maybe I would have learned a little bit more.
I just think it's awesome that you get to do the hands-on. It makes it fun and you learn a lot, and so you're prepared to go on and do other fun things.
All four of my grandparents came, and it was really cool to see them interacting with the project I had been working on.
It was encouraging to see students continue their excitement for our trout project and bring Grandma and Grandpa into the conversation.
The learning targets that we've hit this year, the big one that I've noticed is the restoration of all things new, which is really fun to see throughout this trout project.
One thing about this project that let me see more about nature is that we got to kind of bring them up, the trout, and raise them, and we got to test the water to see if it's clean and everything like that, and then we got to release them into a river, which was really cool. And I think that just really makes it more obvious that this is actually something that's happening and something that we get to be a part of.
My word to describe the trout project was different, because I had never done anything like this in the usual classroom. I got to go to the lake and put on waders and just feel the tightness around my leg. It was so weird, the pressure of the water, and that was really fun and different, I would say.
At Southwest Christian High School, our learning mission is to develop mature disciples of Jesus Christ. And we have 8 through lines that help our students understand what it would look like to live this life of discipleship. One of those through lines is being stewards of God's creation. And this project, where the students were helping to populate Minnesota's rivers with trout, is a fantastic example of how they can engage in that work right now. And so it takes what they're learning in the classroom and it brings them to a place where they really are stewarding a part of God's creation. And it was a wonderful opportunity for our school.
At first, I had never been really interested in learning about fish or trout, but seeing the way Dr. Benson engaged with us and how excited he was deepens my appreciation for it.
What gives me life about this program is just watching the kids get so excited about those eggs and the fact that they get to use the trout as a baseline for so much more learning. We love to release them and it's very exciting, but they provide so much more learning. It's more than just raising trout in a classroom.
As I reflect on the early conversations about Trout Unlimited, and now that the project's in the rearview mirror, I'm grateful for this formational learning that allowed me to take an institutional through line of stewards of creation and apply it to curriculum. Build and develop learning targets and ask students about deep hope and storyline integration. And I'm excited to consider next year and with a new group of students and to see where they'll take this Trout in the Classroom project.